The markets of industrialized nations in Europe and North America are saturated, so multinational food companies have set their sights on the developing world, aggressively expanding their presence in countries like Kenya. They found a vehicle of growth in small packages of Western-style processed food. Conglomerates promise healthy, high-quality food for all, but their products are high-calorie, nutrient-poor foods stuffed with salt, sugar and flavor enhancers. In Brazil, the result is plain to see. Lifestyle diseases are undermining a society already burdened by poverty and malnutrition.
You have an epidemic of obesity, you have an epidemic of diabetes, and more clear that these epidemics, which has huge consequences for the country, it's very clear that it's linked to the increasing consumption of these products.
São Paulo, Latin America's economic powerhouse. Many lower middle-class families get by on less than 200 euros a month. Still, they are a key target for Nestlé, the world's biggest packaged food conglomerate, because they view convenience foods as status goods. The company has devised the perfect strategy to extend its reach. Nestlé, ate você. Nestlé comes to you. Patricia! 37-year-old Patricia is one of 8,000 Nestlé vendors.
I was desperate, so I approached a vendor. She said it wasn't a problem. I could work 3 times a week or every day, whatever suited me. I was unemployed, so I called.
In Brazil, door-to-door vendors have long been a fixture of rural areas or remote urban neighborhoods where it's hard to reach supermarkets on foot. Nestlé's best-selling items are dairy products like yogurts and desserts, most with a high sugar content. Local distributors deliver the goods. They're the link between the company and vendors like Patricia.
She goes out every day. She's a very good saleswoman, works really hard. I take my hat off. She's not lazy, she's always out, rain or shine.
Patricia has no choice but to work all the time. The business risk is all hers. Nestlé is guaranteed its profit. Patricia is self-employed and each month has to buy a specific amount of stock from the middleman, regardless of whether she can sell it all or not. Patricia's daughter, Jessica, helps out. Patricia knows her target group. They're her friends and neighbors.
The door-to-door sales system is good for people who have no money, because they can have a tab with us.
Patricia has to allow her customers up to 4 weeks to settle their bill. She lures them with the latest products that she delivers to the doorsteps of São Paulo's working class for the Swiss food giant. These customers work in a sewing shop. The women have known each other for a long time. That makes it hard to say no. When wooing the poor, social pressure is a key ingredient in Nestlé's recipe for success. It's also why multinationals have long seen Brazil as the perfect testing ground for new products. The country has a large population and a large consumer market. Even the poor here are better off than in other developing countries, with a per capita disposable income of up to 100 euros a month. Brazil has a population of 200 million. Around 42 million are poor. In recent years, increasing numbers have climbed to the lowest rung of the middle class. But this group has health problems. Rates of obesity and diabetes are rapidly increasing. Carlos Monteiro is a professor of nutrition and public health at the University of São Paulo and a leading advisor to the World Health Organization. His research has documented a nutritional transition in Brazil.
But the problem is that the products, what we call ultra-processed products, they are increasingly being consumed by Brazilians. So then in the last 20 years, the proportion of calories that come from these products, they double. So then what we project is that if we don't do anything, in a few years, the situation will be much worse in terms of the diet.
Brazil's poor are increasingly susceptible to obesity and diabetes. The government is trying to counter the trend by getting people to improve their diet. This health centre in a favela on the outskirts of São Paulo is involved in that effort. Aline Brandão trained as a nutritionist. Her small team covers a neighbourhood of 30,000 residents. She uses a playful approach to inform the women here. Many have almost no formal education and have acquired most of what they know from television and advertising.
Multinational corporations have aggressive marketing strategies to advertise industrial food products. They promote it as healthy food. Supermarkets stock these huge selections of dairy products, such as yogurts, that are all marketed as healthy. The people are seduced into buying them, as if you could buy health.
Regular house calls are another important part of Aline's strategy, to check whether people are actually implementing the things they learned at the health centre.
We want to make it easier for people to buy natural food than processed food. That's our biggest problem. The mothers here often have jobs and have little time. That's why they often use pre-prepared foods. That's what's on the menu.
Like in Maria da Silva's family, she works as a cleaner. Her husband is in early retirement. Since they have very little money, they keep their food costs low and buy cheap processed foods. Maria is not the only one overweight, so too are her daughter and her granddaughter. The family substitutes entire meals with sweets and snacks. Aline has been visiting the family for a few months now. She tries to raise their awareness on the importance of nutrition. A glance into the cupboard shows she's still got a long way to go.
These are all products with a high sugar content. People have adopted these food habits and replaced meals. These products aren't just unhealthy, they're also comparatively expensive.
Even though the ingredients are cheap for the manufacturers, sugar, salt, fat and carbohydrates, but consumers can't get enough of these products.
How often did I go to the supermarket and see so much I couldn't buy? I used to wish I'd be able to afford it one day. It's satisfying to be in a position to offer my family food like this.
The favela where Maria da Silva lives is remote. Shops are scarce. A look around the only nearby store reveals the dietary restraints locals face.
We see lots of industrial food products here. It's difficult for the local population to get fresh produce because almost everything here is processed food or snack items. Only the eggs are fresh. Because these foods are allegedly cheaper, people eat these things once or twice a day or more. They seem cheaper because they only cost 50 cents. But at the end of the month, people complain because there's no money left to buy healthy food.
With around 1,000 products of this type, Nestlé is the market leader in Brazil.
The growth of these products is much higher among the low-income people. So our, let's say, high-income people here have more consumption. They are still increasing, but really we see much more increase among the low-income families. And of course, the target, when you see the market of these products, the low-income people is a very, very special target.
The Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Although it's a developing country, Kenya is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, with a steadily growing middle class. It's an appealing market for multinationals, which here too haven't lost sight of the poor as a target group. Kenya has a population of around 45 million. 19 million are poor. Almost half the population lives on less than €2 a day. Kibera is a Nairobi slum that's home to an estimated 500,000 people living in close quarters. For food companies, it's a target group with potential. Amid a lack of storage and refrigeration space, locals buy small quantities, up to 3 times a day. Like Celestine, who lives in a simple shack with her 4 children.
We used to eat roots and millet porridge for breakfast, but then margarine and toast came along. It tastes sweeter and is easier to eat.
Celestine works as a day labourer. She's going out to get breakfast. If she has enough money, she'll buy food for lunch too. She can't afford to stock up. The shop is more like a kiosk and functions as both a store and home for its owner, Caroline. Countless tiny packets of products hang from the ceiling, from margarine to washing powder and spice mixes. Here too, only the eggs are fresh. Almost all the products on sale are manufactured by Unilever and cost only a few cents.
The most popular is these ones. These are the most popular. Royco, because many people in this area, they just to afford sukuma, to buy sukuma, so they use Royco flavors, beef flavors, to give the sukuma wiki taste. Yeah.
Celestine can spend around €1 a day on food. She buys the popular stock cubes and a spice mix by the Unilever brand Royco. The industrial bread and brand of margarine called Blue Band come in small packages.
These are my favorite products. I can buy them in small packages. I couldn't afford bigger ones.
Celestine comes from the rural west of Kenya. When her husband died, she moved to the capital to offer her children the chance of a better life. Now 43, she works as a street vendor. She earns €4 to €5 a day at best.
Life has really changed here in recent years. We used to eat cassava, potatoes, and other healthy things. But the city's so expensive. We live in a slum. We can't afford anything fresh anymore. That's why we eat Royco and other products like that. The small packets cost between 8 and 40 cents. Anything more expensive is a luxury.
Blue Band margarine was developed especially for the African market. It doesn't require refrigeration. Since she moved to the slum, Celestine has replaced much of her family's traditional diet with processed food. Poverty is just one reason.
To be honest, even if I lived in a better neighborhood, I'd still eat bread and Blue Band margarine. I'd just buy a bigger packet. We've really got used to this product. If I bought traditional food such as maize and beans, I'd still season them with Royco. We couldn't go without these products anymore.
Most of Kibera's poor residents feel the same. That's 500,000 people, spending up to €1 every day. Clifford Gikunda is a nutritionist. He accuses multinational corporations of appropriating long-established trade methods.
The buying power is usually very low. There came up in Kenya something called the Kadonyere economy. The Kadonyere economy is something like the small pack approach. It's like everything that was done, then they reproduce them in small packs that the poor can afford. The money they earn per day is what they buy the small things with.
It's very evident what people buy here in Kibera. The area is littered with countless small empty plastic sachets. Beside pollution, there's another downside to the small packaging business model.
To buy stuff in small packets is eventually going to be more expensive for them. So it's actually it's more expensive to live and to live in the slums and to buy in the small packets in the long term.
Small packets are available in industrialized countries too, and here too they're comparatively expensive. It's just that the people in these countries usually have a choice. The people in Kibera don't. Clifford Gikunda has studied the deft way multinational corporations target the poorest consumers. We meet former members of a campaign that Unilever rolled out a year before in Kenyan slums. These women were destined to become door-to-door vendors. They were told they could earn money to feed their families. Ibrahim Wasira was once in charge of such campaigns. He says their real benefit to Unilever is the access they give to the poorest of consumers.
They can't afford a television to see an advert. They can't afford a radio to listen to an advert. They can't afford even 50 shillings to buy a newspaper to read an advert of a Unilever product. So that's why they chose to use women, because it is believed women are the most who uses Unilever products.
The 20 women here all trained to become vendors, but they never got a job and are deeply disappointed.
So when were you introduced to this marketing strategy?
They tested, but they haven't come back, so we don't know what they're planning. What we do, we did the research, we take them through the course how to use the product of Unilever, but they did not come back to say the way forward. Yeah. So I think from today they're going to do it. When they watch this, they will start thinking back and come to their mission.
The training sessions teach women how to use Unilever products so that as vendors they in turn can teach other women. A job like this is often the only chance uneducated, unemployed women get to earn some money. The women learn sales pitches that are tailored to customers in the slums.
Nataka niwaelezee kidogo kuhusu kutumia bidhaa za Unilever.
Such as, I want to talk to you about healthy eating. Let's look at some Unilever products. The women learn that Blue Band margarine isn't just popular, it's also healthy because it has been fortified with 5 different vitamins.
Vitamin A, Vitamin B, Vitamin B, unasema Vitamin B. Vitamin B.
They also learn that they can use Blue Band margarine to prepare food for children. It's that healthy. Next up, the advantages of Royco stock cubes.
Sema tena Royco cubes. Royco cubes. Mnajua Royco cubes? Yes. Ni wangapi huwa wanatumia Royco cubes?
When you cook for your family, Royco will help you give your meal a rich flavor. The day you start using Royco will be the day your husband will come home on time. He won't cheat on you. He'll come straight home.
Finally, there's a recommendation to replace fresh foods, such as vegetables, with Royco to save money. For the women here, it's a plausible argument.
3 Royco stock cubes at 3 cents each cost you 9 cents. But when you go to the market to buy tomatoes and onions, you pay 45 cents. So you save 36 cents with Royco. We can use that money to buy something else.
What prices do you have?
These sums are all very small, but it's still a worthwhile business for Unilever. Unilever portrays itself as a leader in efforts to empower women in poor regions. Maybe that's why, for 4 consecutive years, the company was voted Kenya's top employer. We asked Unilever to respond to the course participants' accusations and for an interview on its corporate social responsibility and marketing strategies. But we were turned down with this explanation. Unfortunately, we are not in a position to partake in this exercise due to potential commercial sensitivities that may be involved. Women in Kenyan slums dream of having a job like 37-year-old Patricia, who goes door to door for Nestle in São Paulo. But the job comes with financial risks. She has to give customers a full month to pay for their purchases.
Sometimes people don't want to pay, but I have to pay the Nestle distributor on the 15th and the 30th of the month. If others don't pay, it comes out of my own pocket.
If she sells a lot, Patricia can earn up to €300 a month. That's hardly more than the legal minimum wage in Brazil. Under this business model, best-selling dairy products and desserts are organized in kits. Depending on size and contents, a kit costs between €4 and €12. It's good for everyone. The vendor sells more and customers pay less. As a bonus, there are regular treats for children.
Let him have some, so he grows up to be big and strong.
Today is Children's Day, a public holiday in Brazil. Most families dole out sweets and have a nice meal. Maria da Silva's family is no exception. This is one occasion on which this poor family goes grocery shopping at the big supermarket. For many years, Maria has put unhealthy food on the family table. She's slowly trying to change their eating habits, but it's not easy.
I've developed an awareness now, but you try telling your children they're not allowed to eat sweets anymore. Don't drink cola, don't eat bread with margarine, though that's all we can afford, not butter. That's why we buy processed foods, and because it's cheaper.
It's a market with huge potential. In Europe, on the other hand, growth has stagnated for years. Industrially processed food accounts for around 60% of food consumed in Western Europe and North America. In Brazil, that figure's only 25%, but it's rising. Natalicio is 56. Maria is 49. They're untrained. As cleaners, they managed to improve their family's situation a little. All the children are allowed to tuck in and enjoy the sweets. Brigadeiros are a local treat, a chocolate praline made of margarine, sweetened milk, cocoa powder and chocolate sprinkles. Maria stresses that today is an exception, but the family is finding it impossible to wean itself off cheap, processed food.
When the children see these foods in ads, they want to eat them. We end up buying the cookies with the filling. The children want all of these things, including all the sweet milk products. We know it's unhealthy, but we are swayed by the advertising.
The consumer protection organization IDEC tries to counter advertising's adverse impact. Ana Paula Bortoletto blames the economic power enjoyed by food conglomerates. Brazil has strict consumer protection laws, but companies circumvent them in advertising, for example.
For the poor people, these kind of products are linked to a certain social level that they are willing to be and willing to be a part of it. So when you can buy this kind of products, it means that you are a part of this group.
Today, nutritionist Aline Brandão is out with a group of women from the favela. At the market, she's teaching them to compare prices for vegetables and processed foods. She uses the nutritional guidelines published by the Brazilian Health Ministry as a teaching tool.
Not all nutritionists received the book. We only got a few copies. I only have it because I took part in an advanced training workshop. You can download the book online too. But poor people don't have access to the internet.
The guidelines drew international attention, but the target group it was designed for hardly heard about it. Aline wants the women to recall the traditional recipes they grew up with.
We want to get these women to return to traditional ways of cooking and give them a new perspective on what we eat every day. They are responsible for the dietary habits of the people around them. They have a big influence on their families.
The women are poor. They often have no education. Drugs and crime compound the problems faced by many families. A healthy diet is not a priority.
They are standing at this fruit stall and they believe that €1.30 for 3 pieces of fruit is too expensive because they can get an entire packet of cookies for 30 cents. They think it's more cost-effective to buy the cookies.
The companies appear to grasp that the products they're peddling are contributing to a social problem. In the country of 200 million, 40 million Brazilians are overweight. 14 million are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Nestlé has initiated its own health program in schools in Brazil. It's overseen by the Nestlé Foundation. The Nutria program is designed to teach school children how to eat a healthy diet. The teaching materials are colorful and embossed with the company logo.
Materials for the challenges and the relation of the brand with the materials in the schools is a value for the company. You know, seen as more respectful. They can be seen as more trustful, and they will have public recognition that they are contributing to solve the problem. This year, the program was recognized as a public policy in the municipal plan of food and nutrition security. It's this one.
For the next 4 years, Nestlé will be integrated into São Paulo's public education policy, with its 1,375 state schools. The program is listed as privately funded. But why is the city of São Paulo cooperating on child nutrition with a company that, according to experts, is helping to compound health problems in Brazil? We've been invited to a school taking part in the Nutria program. Most of the 800 children between the ages of 6 and 14 come from nearby favelas. The principle behind Nutria sounds good. It aims to familiarize children with unprocessed foods and help them develop an awareness for healthy food. The Nestlé Foundation funds information events and organizes a healthy eating competition. A representative of São Paulo's State School Board has come to meet us.
The foundation came to us offering the program. So we took 6 months studying the implications of the program, especially because the name of Nestlé was behind of the foundation. So we took this very seriously, you know.
The principal has signed up a school for the Nutria program for the second time. Schools compete against each other. Teachers and students have to solve questions about healthy eating.
I can explain the numbers here. 265 schools, 703 teachers, 185,100 kids. That are the numbers. Right numbers.
There's a €1,400 prize for the school that wins the competition. Last year, this school came third. generating a lot of praise for the school board and the headmistress.
Yes, they sell, but indeed, the foundation, the Nestlé Foundation, is a foundation. We are not working with the commercial part, and they are not obliging us to use the Nestlé products.
And in fact, there are no Nestlé products in the school canteen. The clean image of healthy food is undoubtedly more effective advertising. It's clear the children here need help. The headmistress tells us that school lunch is the only proper meal of the day for many here. This boy tells us he doesn't get food like this at home. He's never eaten fruit salad anywhere else. A sport and dance program is also part of the project. The parents from the surrounding favelas are happy that the school offers something to the children that they themselves can't afford. But why can't schools teach children about healthy eating without corporate help?
The point is that the products that these companies produce, they don't have anything to do with this. On the contrary, most of what they do is to replace real foods. There's a contradiction because they say they are interested to teach children to like real food, but they don't commercialize real food. I mean, most of they commercialize are fake food, are things that are not good for health and that replace our traditional dietary pattern. So, I mean, I don't see it. I just see this as a public relation strategy, nothing more than this.
The Nestlé Foundation sees it as an example of social responsibility. We want to learn more about the goal of Nestlé Nutria. We are granted an interview but are not allowed to film it. The representative emphasizes that the company is in general open to change in all areas, but he concedes. You can't make changes to production overnight. You have to get consumers accustomed to alterations. If you suddenly cut sugar in a popular product, people would stop buying it. Nestlé will do nothing to threaten sales. After all, Brazil is a €4 billion market, its fourth biggest worldwide. Africa is not nearly as lucrative, for now. Unlike in Brazil, diseases such as obesity and diabetes have not reached epidemic proportions. But African nutritionists say it's only a matter of time. They're calling for timely action.
And we have the African indigenous vegetables. So this is amaranthus, and we have some cowpea here, and we have nightshade. So one of the most important things about these African vegetables is they have all the vitamins, most of the vitamins that the most African families would be looking at. Unfortunately, these were some of the foods that had been abandoned, and the families opted to go to other foods.
Why are vegetables disappearing from the city? How much sway do multinationals hold over rural areas? There's lots of agriculture to the north of Nairobi. We meet farmer Wilson Kane. He grows tomatoes and other vegetables, everything for the market in the nearby town. He has roughly half a hectare of land.
This is typically a small-scale farmer. One of the challenges that this farmer is going through is that even selling these things to the market is being exploited because the prices are not determined by the person called a middleman.
In Kenya, many farmers relinquish much of their profits to distributors who control and regulate the market. And there's a further uncertainty. Fluctuations in supply and demand can leave the farmer stuck with his produce.
The farmers do all the work, but the middlemen make the profits. I should get €4.35 for 30 kilos of tomatoes, but the middlemen keep €2.60. So I only get €1.75. They're to blame for our predicament.
Wilson Kane would prefer to be a contract farmer for a major international company. It's a system gaining traction in Kenya. Farmers produce for a single company, which guarantees it will purchase their entire harvest.
He thinks under contract farming is going to be secure, that he's going to get some money, and that he can now do much better planning. He does not seem to understand the international politics of exploitation by any company through contract farming.
Samuel Kabochi is a contract farmer. He grows beans for a major Kenyan exporter. Kabochi isn't really free, he says. The prices are determined by the company, and they are not good. But he still doesn't want to go back to traditional farming.
Planting traditional food is almost a waste of time, because of those who are coming to buy. They will buy at a low price, and you have wasted a lot of months. In a year, it's twice.
Since the big companies pay better, farmers are increasingly opting out of the domestic market. Right behind Samuel's field is a huge pineapple plantation. It belongs to Del Monte, supplier of fresh and prepared produce, and the biggest employer here in the area. Catherine works the fields for Del Monte 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. Like most of the people here, she owns a piece of land, and though she can't live off it, she does farm it on the side for extra income and the ingredients for a traditional diet. Catherine never buys processed food.
Here we have beans and maize. We've always eaten that here. We grow everything that we eat, including cassava.
Could Catherine afford the pineapple juice that's produced on her employer's field?
I can't afford Del Monte juice. I don't earn enough. I'd rather buy an orange for 2 or 3 cents. Del Monte products start at 70 cents. A liter of juice costs €1.80. I don't have money for that.
Catherine lives frugally, so she can support her daughter who lives in Nairobi. She can afford that because her monthly earnings are around €190, 3 times the amount field hands make on small farms. Del Monte has a reputation for paying the highest wages in the region. But the flip side is that traditional agriculture is only worthwhile for subsistence farmers like Catherine. She grows beans, maize, root vegetables and yams.
These things are important for us. They're healthy. They haven't been sprayed. They just grow without fertilizer or anything else.
Subsistence farming is still fairly prevalent in Kenya. In the mega city São Paulo, there's very little space for the people to grow their own vegetables, but there is some. There's a little paradise under some power lines in this poor eastern neighborhood. Hans-Dieter Temp has created a community garden here. He runs the aid organization Cities Without Hunger, planting vegetables on unused and private plots of land. He started it 10 years ago. Today, Hans-Dieter Temp oversees 25 urban gardens in São Paulo.
It was a completely new concept to produce food in a favela. When I started, when I wanted to use land for communal gardens, everyone always said it wouldn't work and that I was crazy. But they soon changed their minds, especially when they saw the vegetables.
Hans-Dieter helps the poorest of the poor, people without an education or a job. Cities Without Hunger accompanies them for a year and trains them in urban agriculture. The goal is that the garden begins to turn a profit after 12 months, providing the people who farm it with a livelihood. The vegetables aren't just for personal use, they're also designated for sale in a local market. Finding new plots is the biggest obstacle. This one is located above an oil pipeline. It was once used as an illegal garbage dump and a hangout for drug dealers. It took 7 months to clean it up and prepare it for gardening.
It's very intensive at first. It's a lot of work and the land is heavily littered. We have to do a lot of work before the land is ready to be farmed.
The gardens are all farmed organically. No artificial fertilizers or insecticides are used. Adriana and her family have been with Cities Without Hunger for 8 months. They're still receiving intensive supervision.
My whole family works here. We've changed our eating habits. I used to weigh 89 kilograms. Now I weigh 70. I don't eat processed foods anymore. I try to eat nothing that's unhealthy. Occasionally, I'll let my daughter have some junk food because she's a child and wants to try them.
The gardens of Cities Without Hunger contrast starkly with the products sold by corporate food giants. Maybe this model will catch on.
I'm not against transnational corporations, but transnational corporations control the production and the whole market of these products that are intrinsically unhealthy, and which is worse, they are replacing a dietary pattern which is healthy. So then there's working in public health. I cannot have any other feeling against these companies than to not like them.